Good morning. Thank you for covering this introductory press briefing. My name is Mario Gallia, Member of Parliament from Malta. I've been a Member of Parliament for the last 20 years and I held a cabinet post during the past legislature. I was responsible for the care of the elderly and community care in Malta. I covered elections on behalf of the Commonwealth and the European Union, mainly in Gibraltar, Zimbabwe twice, both the presidential and the parliamentary elections, Liberia, Yemen, Gambia, and Gaza and West Bank twice as well. I would like to start by introducing the members of the core team. We arrived here last Wednesday. Practically Sasha Matusz from Slovakia and Marian Maroš Gabriel, both from Slovakia. They are election experts from IRIS. They have an extensive experience in election observation and technical assistance, and each of them participated as an expert technical advisor on elections or observer in more than 20 different missions around the world, mainly with the European Union, with OSCE, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, United Nations and National Democratic Institute. We also have with us Ms. Hannah McLeod, who would be taking care of the logistics and will be our administrator during this mission. We are expecting the observers to arrive mainly by tomorrow evening, and the observers would be Senator Philip Ozouf from the States of Jersey, Margaret Mitchell from the member of the Scottish Parliament, Speaker Honourable Randolph Horton from Bermuda, and two observers nominated by the Association of Caribbean Electoral Organization, mainly Fernand Cheese, who is a legal officer from Trinidad and Tobago, and Juanita Barker, who is a legal officer from Guyana. The aim of this press conference at this early stage after our arrival is mainly to introduce this mission and also to touch base with you as members of the media. It is our intention to meet as much people as possible, including a wide variety of different stakeholders of the election. We will be holding meetings with different candidates, different political parties, electoral administrators, civil societies, NGOs, domestic observers, and of course members of the media. I have to say that as members of the media, as you know, you have a very important role in this election. In fact, I would like to thank you all for your efforts to try and cover as much as possible different aspects of this election. I've been following the local media from back home for the last few weeks, and I know that you are covering this election very extensively, and I would like to thank you for your efforts because you are important stakeholders in this important election. We will be more than willing to meet members of the media and who would like to talk to us. We are also looking forward to meet as much voters as possible. We are very interested in what the voters have to say to us, and those who would like to meet us or talk to us are encouraged to contact us, and we will treat any information which will be given in absolute confidentiality. We will try to do our best to verify any allegations of irregularity if this is the case. This mission has been made possible after an invitation from His Excellency the Government of the Cayman Islands, with the agreement and support of the government, the Legislative Assembly and the electoral administrators. This in itself is positive because the wide-ranging consensus for this mission shows the willingness of the people of the Cayman Islands and also the authorities of the Cayman Islands to review and assess their political electoral process. This is, as you know, this is the first election with international observers of this kind. I can assure you that we will conduct this mission in the most impartial, fair and independent way. We are interested in the electoral process, but not in the political outcome of the election. Our main interest is that the result truly reflects the will of the people. Our first and utmost commitment is to the people of the Cayman Islands. We wish them well and hope that they will enfranchise themselves in this upcoming election. We are here to observe, not to run the electoral process. We will not interfere or instruct. Our remit is to observe and then give a fair, independent and impartial assessment, and whenever the case, offer recommendations. We intend to cover the pre-election preparations and political activities. We will be there on election day, and our aim is to cover the majority of polling booths and polling centres and polling counting centres. We will observe the tabulation of results and how electoral disputes, if any, are resolved. We will be inviting you again to another press briefing to issue a preliminary report on our findings within 2 days maximum after the election day. A detailed and final report, including our assessment of these elections, will follow, and it will be issued within 2 months, which will be disseminated to all stakeholders, and it will be available to the public and to the people of the Cayman Islands as well. If you have any questions, we will try to answer to the best of our abilities. If you'd like to talk to the mission in private after this press conference, you are more welcome to do so. Thank you, and I would take any questions. If there are 3 questions, I would take them at one go, and then I'll try to answer them.
I guess I'm first. Tammy Suleiman, Cayman 27. I'm wondering, you've been here since last week, you said. Have you had anything come forward to you in terms of irregularities so far? Have you had any reports come to you?
Okay, I will answer it. Any more questions?
Brent Fuller from the Compass newspaper. Can you all, I don't know if you make a distinction between this, but are you here as observers or as monitors? And do you make that distinction, and can you explain the difference between the two and which one you're actually doing? Are you observing this election or monitoring it?
Yes, please.
Wendy Ledger from Cayman News Service. I would just like to ask what the process is if you observe any irregularities, and whether in fact you step in at the time or whether you just wait and it all goes in your report. I'd quite like to understand the process of what it is that how you record what you've observed if something is untoward.
Jay Earhart from Radio Cayman. Wait for you to write down that last question.
Yeah.
There's a stigma attached to observers coming to a country, meaning that there must be something wrong if you're having to have observers in there. Cayman has always had excellent run elections, and a lot of people don't understand why you're here if we've always had really well-run elections. Maybe you could explain that observers are not necessarily here because we've had bad elections in the past, and explain the main reasons you're here.
Okay, thank you very much. I would start with the first questions. Did we notice anything irregular so far? I think it will be presumptuous of me to try to answer that question at this stage. I would rather wait for the election process to be over, for our full observer team to be here and deployed to different districts. We will in fact cover all different districts, and then we will reserve our comments in our preliminary report before our departure, which, as I said, would be followed with a more detailed report of our findings and any recommendations which we deem necessary. But at this stage, this is an introductory press conference, and I would rather comment about that issue after the election. What is the difference between observers and monitors? We call ourselves observers. This is an observer mission. Probably it is best to answer this question if I would try to explain very briefly what we will be observing and what we will be looking at. We will be looking at political campaign. That means if there is freedom for all stakeholders, for all candidates, whoever they are, whatever political alliance they are coming from, if they are free to move around and campaign freely. We will be looking at campaign activities, are public resources being used in favor of one particular party or candidate. We will be looking at the media involvement and monitoring of the activities, because we strongly believe that the media is an important stakeholder and the media should be free and at liberty to cover any press events. These are international guidelines. I'm not saying that these were particularly constructed for this mission. We also be looking at the financing of the political campaign. Then we will be looking at the electoral framework and administration. That is precisely why we have two experts with very vast experience from IRIS, which is Electoral Reform International Service. It's an NGO, non-profit organization, which offers technical advice throughout the world on election. It has vast experience on election observation. So we would be looking at the legal structure which underlies this electoral process, mainly at the election law, other legislation, the implementation of this legislation, how it is conducted, is it being followed during the election, if there are complaints and appeals, how is the process conducted. We will also be looking at the administrative structure, other stakeholders involved, and resources. And then we would be looking at voter and candidate registration, the criteria, the systems and procedures that are in place, accuracy, inclusivity, and equality, gender equality, racial equality, whatever. Then we would also be looking at voters' education and assess and availability of voters to know about the system and how they can vote. Finally, on the polling day, we will be monitoring, as I've said, a vast majority. I wouldn't dare give you the number, but our intention is to cover as much polling station as possible. We also managed to monitor some mobile polling, including polling of people who, because of mobile problems, couldn't leave their home and they voted at their home. Yesterday we had the opportunity to monitor some of this polling as well. Then we would be, under polling, we would also be looking at the design and security of the ballot paper and also the secrecy of ballot in different places. We will also be there for the count. We will be there in most of the counting centers, the process and procedures and how the counting is being followed, the tabulation, and we also will be here to monitor post-election complaints and appeals. So that is practically what we will be doing. We will issue a report after the elections, as I told you, and our report will be independent. There would be no influence whatsoever from any third party, and what we say is what the observers observed. The third question actually, what was? Can you remind me? Okay, why this mission is observed? Unfortunately, there is. I don't know if I missed one. Yeah, okay, yes. Unfortunately, there is this misconcepted idea that because an international observer team is deployed, it means that something is wrong with that electoral process. This is definitely not the case. Elections are being observed in the European Union, in the United States, in Malta, all over the globe. I think it gives more credibility to election. It increases the public confidence in the electoral process, and also it validates the elected members, the outcome of the election, because there are international observers who are independent, partial, and they're trying to make a fair assessment of the electoral process. So definitely, because we are here, it does not mean that we are challenging the way how the elections were conducted so far. This happens all over the world, and today it's considered to be gold practice to monitor elections, because as I've said, it increases public confidence, and more than that, it means it validates the process. Yes, and definitely, it is also a golden opportunity to assess the process. And if we deem necessary to put forward, to offer at the end of the day, because we can only offer recommendations, I think that also helps to make the process even better than it is. Yes, what would we do? What should we do if we are in a polling station or during counting and we see some irregularity? As I said, we do not have any executive powers, so we cannot instruct. What we do is we very politely draw the attention of the presiding officer of that irregularity, and then we see how it is handled, and then definitely it will feature in our report. So we will be there. We will be the eyes and the ears of the people of the Cayman Islands to observe, and if there are any irregularities, we will definitely, rather than sitting back and put it in our report, we will draw the attention of the presiding officer about that irregularity and listen what he or she have to say, and then definitely that will feature in our report. I hope I answered all your questions. If you have any further questions, more than welcome. Yes.
How long after could we expect that report? How long does it normally take for that report to be?
Well, we will definitely call another press conference within maximum 2 days of the election. That's what we always do. That would be a preliminary findings, early findings, what we observe. And that would give a gist of what we expect of our final, more detailed report. Then the detailed report, which will cover all aspects of the election, and it will go in detail with recommendations, would be issued maximum 2 months after the election. And I hope it would be consensual, obviously, between all observers, and that would be made available to all stakeholders of this election, including the public in general. So, to wrap up, I would like to thank you very much. You've got our contact details. Please feel free to contact us. We would be more than willing to talk to you, to answer any further questions that you may have. And if you have any information which you deem that it is necessary for us to know, kindly try to contact us through email or through a telephone call. Thank you very much. I know you have a busy schedule, and I really appreciate for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.